morning. Can everyone hear me okay? Just going to apologize in advance. My voice has been in and out this week, but I want to welcome you all to Rice University. My name is Sandy Ganaratna, and I am a professional MBA student here at Rice, as well as the president of the Blockchain Technology Club. I also work for BHP Billiton in the Petroleum and Potash Group. Our first speaker today is going to be William Mougayar, and William is an investor, author, and advisor. He's an author of the business blockchain. William is a Canadian entrepreneur, investor, author, and technology theorist and blogger. His book, The Business Blockchain, Promise, Practice, and Application of the Next Internet Technology, is the first book to discuss the business implications of the blockchain. William is also a researcher and investor of Bitcoin and the blockchain space. Please join me in welcoming William to Rice University.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So first of all, I have to apologize for getting you up here so early. I am the culprit because I have to get on a flight an hour from now. I have to leave less than an hour from now. So the organizers were kind enough to start a little bit earlier. They said, yeah, we can accommodate that, but we have to start at 8 o'clock. As a small token of appreciation, what we've done is we were able to get a donation of 110 books, the business blockchain for you. So for getting you up early, I'm giving you back some books, free books, thanks to Block, who agreed to sponsor them. I started talking about my book a little bit because the interesting thing is it has been translated in 8 languages. And I mention it because the first 3 languages were Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. So that kind of tells us something about the fact that the Asian countries are very interested in the blockchain. And for the first time, this technology phenomena is not focused in the US and is not being dominated by the US. Because the blockchain is very decentralized, all of the activities are also very decentralized. And there is not one country that has an edge over another. There is not one city that has an edge over another. But there are probably 10 or 12 ecosystems around the world that are doing a lot of interesting things with the blockchain. So keep that in mind. So we are here to talk about, by the way, if there's a way to also fix the screen here in the front, because I can't see where I am in the slides, that would be great. It used to work 5 minutes ago. Okay. The other good thing about being the first speaker is that we can get the bugs out of the system for all of you who are coming after me. So, okay. That's okay. I'll just do some neck exercise. Perfect. Thank you very much. Great. So we're all here because we want to bridge the gap between the understanding and the implementation of the blockchain. For most of you here, obviously, you're very interested in the topic, so it is no longer something obscure. But if you go out anywhere outside and you ask people, your friends, have you heard of the blockchain? And when I do that, 90% of the time, people have not heard of the blockchain. And then I say, how about Bitcoin? They say, yes, we've heard of Bitcoin. Well, obviously, blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin. But we all have a responsibility to get the word out, to have more people understand the blockchain. And even the technologists are grappling with how to implement the blockchain. So hopefully, we're going to see a lot more implementations going forward. I'd like to start by framing the situation, which is that everything that has to do with the blockchain really has a business angle to it, a technical angle, and a legal angle, all intertwined together. For the first time, certain technologies have come together, and that is really the innovation of the blockchain. Cryptocurrency is not anything new. It's been around for a long time. Peer-to-peer networks have been around for a long time, initially starting with Napster and file sharing. And then game theory has been around for a long time. But for the first time, these three fields have come together. So when you start to implement blockchain, you really have to have a technical component, whether it's a distributed ledger aspect. You need to have a business thinking about it because it's about a peer-to-peer decentralized network. And there has to be a legal implication. There has to be some assurance that the records are going to be valid once they are authenticated on the blockchain. So before I get into the meat of my presentation, what do you think the blockchain is really disrupting the most at the technical level? What is the one thing that is really getting hit broadside by the blockchain? Trust, but at the technical level, it's the database. The database is really getting disrupted by the blockchain. If you think about it, all of the world's applications run on databases. You can't write an application without starting with the database. I wrote an article 3 years ago saying the blockchain is disrupting the database. Get ready to rewrite everything. So obviously this was an exaggeration. You don't have to rewrite everything, but you have to rewrite a certain part of whatever you currently have if you wanted to interact with the blockchain. So I'm going to talk to you about 7 areas to think about that the blockchain is disrupting. First of all, it is a cryptocurrency. And the Bitcoin is was the first cryptocurrency, but we should not think of cryptocurrency just as an instrument that we trade. It is not just a speculative asset. There are lots of other products and services, derivatives. There are derivatives of that currency that are going to become available. Obviously, if you want to follow the cryptocurrencies around the blockchain, you go to a website called coinmarketcap.com, and you will see the first 100 very easily there. The total market cap is approaching $30 billion. The overall value of all of the blockchain companies is close to $40 billion when you add the private companies that are out there. But the whole financial services, all of the products that have financial services in them are going to be disrupted by cryptocurrency one way or another. The second area to think about is the distributed ledger technology, the shared distributed ledger technology. And this is the part where the enterprises have really embraced it. But it's kind of good and bad. So because the blockchain has a lot of different aspects to it. And when it came to the enterprise, they looked at it and they said, there are some things we like about it, and there are some things we don't like about it. And the things that the enterprises really liked about the blockchain is the distributed ledger technology part of it, which is really about sharing spreadsheets with some programmability to it. It's kind of the analogy of using Google Docs instead of Microsoft Word. Whereas Microsoft Word, you each have your own copy. When you make changes, the other person does not know what changes you're making. But if you have a document on Google Docs, it's in the cloud, and everybody sees the changes that you're seeing at the same time as you are making them. So everybody's on the same page. So now we're extending that analogy to numbers, to spreadsheets that are programmable. And enterprises can get busy for the next 10 years implementing distributed ledger technology in their companies. The third area that's experiencing a lot of activity is the decentralized protocols. So there are lots of different protocols that are going to be emerging. We have them for e-commerce, we have them for storage, we have them for trading, we have them for cloud computing. There is going to be dozens, if not hundreds, of new protocols that are going to go on top of the blockchain and that will enable the creation of new applications. So this is a very exciting area. Another area is what I call proof of X, proving everything. The blockchain is a great record of trust. And once you write something on the blockchain, that's it, you cannot erase it. So it preserves the truth, it preserves the past. There's this table from my book that I call Proof of Everything, Proof as a Business. And it has many different layers. I wrote another article last year said that the blockchain is the next Google. Then I got an email from Google the next day. And they invited me to come and talk to them about that and explain what I meant. If you think about it, today we Google for everything. We Google for information. Every time we want to find out about something, we go and Google for it. In the future, we're going to go, and it won't be called Googling. It will be some company might emerge. Or maybe it's going to be a number of companies. Maybe it won't be just one company. We're going to go somewhere and look for the version of the truth. Look for that record of ownership. Look for that specific transaction. Did it happen? Go and check and audit. Because as you record information, transactions, processes, events on the blockchain, then it's going to become easy to go and check for the validity and the veracity of this information. So get ready for the proof of X. Smart contracts is a little bit of an underrated and underutilized area of the blockchain. And there's going to be an explosion of smart contracts going forward. So if you think about it, smart contracts are like business logic. But there's nothing new about business logic. We've had business programming languages for a number of years. What is new about their coming to the blockchain is now you can combine the business programmability of logic with money or with value for incentives. So now we can move money with a logic so that if this, then that, then transfer this money automatically. Or give me an incentive as a user if I do something. So smart contracts are like the new robots of software engineering, of software development. And we're only at the beginning of their propagation. Another area that's experiencing a tremendous amount of activity is the token-based models. A token is like another layer on the cryptocurrency level. It's really another way to saying that there is value behind something which we are calling token because it is really a cryptocurrency. In the same way that governments today are the ones that are issuing that are issuing currency as we know it, like dollars, yens, and other types, euros. Companies in the future will be issuing their own cryptocurrency, and they will give it away to their users because the users become part of the infrastructure. There's a whole new world that is developing, which I call the circular economy, around the creation and the dissemination of tokens along a variety of work-related aspects of doing things. And that's actually going to be my talk tomorrow at TEDx. I have a new talk that explains how work and the blockchain are coming together. And let me ask you this. How many of you have one job right now? And keep your hands up. How many have two jobs? How many have three jobs? Okay, so not too many hands in the three, but I want to tell you something here. I think most of you were lying to yourselves because we all have three jobs. The first job is the job that you know about, that you go to the office or to the store or to the factory, you get paid, you get a paycheck at the end of the month or the week. The second job that we all have is taking care of yourself, taking care of your house, cleaning, doing the dishes, taking care of your parents or siblings and so on. That is a job too. And the third job that we all have too is the job that has been outsourced to us by friendly companies all around us. When you go and book a ticket, when you go and do something online, that you make a hotel reservation, and all kinds of services that these companies have outsourced to us, that is really another job. But the interesting thing is that we have not been paid for that job. and we do it for free. However, with the blockchain, there's going to be a whole range of new types of activities where we're going to get paid. We're going to get paid by tokens for doing these kinds of jobs, or for sharing our data, or for sharing our attention. So that is the coming of the circular economy, where we earn tokens and we spend them at the same time inside particular organizations. And there are companies that are starting to do that right now. Another area that is a subset of the token-enabled models is raising money with cryptocurrency. For lack of a better word, we're calling this initial cryptocurrency offerings, as a contrast to initial price offerings when companies go public. And this is a great way for raising money. Last year, about $250 million were raised using ICOs. This year, I predict it's going to approach $1 billion. Between $600 to $800 million will be raised on ICOs, companies raising between $2, $5, $20 million and raising in their own currencies. And that's going to be an emerging area of the blockchain. Startups, a lot of companies now are emerging. It's a lot easier to raise money with cryptocurrency than to go knock on the door of venture capital firms, because their criteria is a little bit tougher. However, it's a good thing to have that. It is so important that I'm running a one-day event in New York next month called the Token Summit, where we're going to just dive very deeply into understanding what the meaning is of this whole phenomenon. But more importantly, it is not just about raising money, but it's about all the business models that are being enabled and that are supported by these tokens. So the tokens are really enablers of new business models. How many of you are in the Ethereum camp here? And how many of you are in the Bitcoin camp? All right, so some of them are in both. So that's good. So if Ethereum was a car, and I'm in both camps, but I'm kind of leaning more on the Ethereum, obviously, because of my past. Ethereum is the new thing, and if Ethereum was a car, I like to liken it to a Tesla, because it's a new thing. And this is how Ethereum sees itself, as the new thing. This is how Ethereum sees Bitcoin. And when I talk to Ethereum, when I talk to Bitcoin, this is how they see Ethereum, because they think that it's not going to work. But that's not the case. It's been working very well. And in reality, this is where Ethereum is. Obviously, the car is moving now. It's in color. But it is still early days, even for Ethereum. And you notice the gas tank on the outside, because Ethereum has the concept of the gas as a way to pay for smart contracts. I'm going to end by giving you 5 themes to think about going forward with the blockchain. What's happening right now is that we have to move away from core development into application development. A lot of the activity and the headlines in the past 4 to 5 years with the blockchain have been really focused on the technical aspects of the blockchain, because really the blockchain is a technical thing. And then today, the heroes of the blockchain are people like Vitalik Buterin and Peter Todd and Gavin Wood and others, Satoshi Nakamoto, who don't know where he or she is, or there. But they were really technical people. But in the future, the heroes of the blockchain are going to be more the companies and the entrepreneurs that will be starting applications. Because applications really are what made the web what it is today. And that's where we are moving. We have to keep in mind there is a difference between the blockchain applications and the protocols that are powering everything. I had this slide that has 3 layers: infrastructure, middleware, and applications. And I've been using that slide for 20 years. I used the exact same slide in 95, 96, 97 when the internet came along to describe where we were and where we had to go. It's the same thing, whether you call it dApps or decentralized peer-to-peer, whatever it is. When a programmer sits in front of a computer starting to develop something, they want to know what the infrastructure is, they want tools, they want middleware, and they go and start to write applications. So now we're moving more and more into the applications side of the blockchain. And But we don't have a lot of applications that are very consumer friendly. Enterprise applications really are for the enterprise. But we have to see more applications that are really touching the consumer, where the consumer won't even know that there is a blockchain behind the scenes. I'll give you an example. There is one of those applications that was just announced this past week called Token. So if you want to experience a little bit where this is going, it works both on the Android or the iOS. Go and download an app called Token. And there are others that will be coming in the not too distant future that will be very much consumer applications that anybody would be able to pick up and use it to transfer money or to accomplish tasks via the blockchain. The third thing is that standards are very important. And we're in the very early days of seeing standards with the blockchain. One such standard is called the ERC-20, which is the standard for token issuance and token propagation. And it did a lot of great things for the cryptocurrency offerings. If it weren't from the ERC-20 token, which is an Ethereum standard, we wouldn't have had the great pickup in the offerings around tokens. So standards, when they are adopted, really accelerate the adoption of applications around them. If you really dumb it down, the blockchain is really a bunch of functions, and you just make calls to these functions. But I don't see enough APIs that just are simplifying this. So we need more simplification at the API level so that programmers that don't want to deal with the lower levels of the blockchain are able to pick up middleware and just start to develop applications as quickly as they can. Today, we have about 30,000 developers worldwide that know blockchain, and this is nothing. This is a very small number. Contrast that to about 9 to 10 million that know Java. And Java is important as an analogy because Java is the language of the web. And the language of the blockchain is fragmented right now, but we need more and more developers that know the blockchain. So if any of you are students here, get into blockchain development. It's very important. Regulation versus innovation. Right now, the regulators are scratching their heads and trying to figure out what's going on with the blockchain. It is happening so fast that the market is really ahead of the regulations, which is a good thing. As if the regulators took a year off last year and they did not do a whole lot. It's a good thing to have a hands-off types of attitude because the blockchain is so new and so small. It's like a baby. And you cannot regulate something that is so small. You have to see it come to life before you decide how to regulate it. We did not regulate e-commerce in the early days. We did not regulate the internet in the early days. We let it develop and grow before we could really understand it. And I knew innovation happens much better and much faster when it is not regulated. And maybe later we can try to see how to adapt some of the regulations. So I hope it stays that way and we continue to innovate and not regulate. Also, you have to keep in mind, when you look at the activity, some of the activity is just there to support existing businesses. So big companies, by and large, are doing blockchain to support existing businesses, to save money, to speed up processes, to provide a better service to their customers. But big companies, by and large, are not going to disrupt their businesses. Everything ties back to their own business models. Whereas startups start with a blank slate, and they want to disrupt everything, everywhere. And this is the area that I'm the most excited about, is the areas where there are new business models in new markets. And this is just a sample of what is going on. There are dozens and hundreds of companies in each one of these quadrants. And all of them are doing great things. There's nothing wrong in improving processes, nothing wrong in saving money. And all of the activity is good. In closing, we can't leave Yogi Berra out of the equation here, out of the blockchain. And really, the blockchain, when you dumb it down, it is 90% governance and business, and the other half is technical. So it is not easy, it is hard. It is going to get easier and easier on the technology side. It has not been very easy. I think last year we've made a lot of progress. And a lot of companies now are some of which you'll hear about in the next 2 days, are making it easier and easier to develop and deploy applications. And maybe one day it's going to be so easy that even kids will be able to go on the blockchain in the same way that kids go on browsers now when they are 3 years old and 4 years old and they have their iPads and so on. And hopefully, not in the not too distant future, the blockchain will become a very easy thing to take and to adopt. Thank you very much. Do we have 3 minutes for Q&A? Or I think we can take a couple of questions if you'd like. Okay, yes, there is one here. Greg?
Yeah, how about, what do you see with the private and public blockchain?
The question is, what do I see in private and public blockchains? I mean, right now, they seem to be like two different worlds, but in reality, it's part of the same continuum. And there's a lot of benefits in having a continuity between the public blockchain and the private blockchain. And the analogy is that the way it is today is just with the internet, it's just a firewall. And Ethereum has an advantage right now. It's the only blockchain that has a good continuity between the private and the public infrastructures. Right now, a lot of the private initiatives start private and they start very closed up. But eventually, they are going to have to open up at least some parts of what they are doing to the outside. Private blockchains are faster, so there are some performance issues with public blockchains right now if you want to do hundreds of thousands of transactions. But eventually, the public blockchains will catch up as well. So the scalability aspects will not be as much of an issue as they are today. So the activity, I'm not sure if I could say half and half. There's lots of, from what I can see, my best guess it's half and half. Maybe Joe can have a better number after when he talks, Joe Lubin, because he's seeing both sides. But from what I see, it's maybe half and half right now, activity-wise. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about some of the use cases or projects you're excited about? People maybe can research in that word and see the technology and application.
Yes, I wish I had more time to mention many of them. Obviously, storage is one of them because you're part of it. So one of the areas that I talk about in terms of giving our attention with companies like Steemit or taking our data so that the data has value, or something that we own like storage or processing power that we can rent out. So one of the business models is now you'll be able to say, I can rent part of my capacity that I have, whether it's a PC or a corporate computer, and then I can make some money out of that. So again, it's the buying and selling, providing resources, and being able to spend and earn tokens. So I'm very encouraged by all of the innovation around these models, and buying and selling something you own or part of it. Part of the shared economy is going to come to the blockchain because the tokens become a very easy way to buy and sell. Microtransactions are perfect for the blockchain, whether it's selling surplus computing or surplus energy. I see some energy cases where neighbors on a street in Brooklyn are buying and selling surplus energy between each other, for example. And I'm sure it's going to apply for the oil and gas industry as well. One more? Okay. Great. I'll be outside for a few more minutes to sign a few books, but thanks very much for inviting me.